Now, when the Fallout TV show came out, a lot of leftist content creators, journalists, and even people associated with the show's production, they claim that Fallout is a critique to capitalism. And they believe that Mr. House is evil, they don't understand how anyone can like Mr. House. And they even trashed a little bit on his character in the show because, again, these people believe that capitalism is evil. And I pointed out that no, Fallout is not a critique to capitalism. It's literally in the beginning. Like, it's very difficult to miss it because it's the first phrase that you get when you start the game, which is that war never changes. And in the game, you have various different systems, various different political systems. Many have nothing to do with capitalism. And despite all of these things, all the systems are flawed, and every time it also leads to war because war never changes. So it's like the human nature of man, which is a very territorial creature, and it always leads to war. When you start Fallout 2, you're not part of a capitalist system, you're part of a tribalist system. And there are other systems in the game. There's even communism. I mean, China in the Fallout universe is a communist nation, and they also went to war with the United States. So you need to actually be a complete brainlet, a person that sees, I guess, capitalism everywhere. Like some Christians used to see Jesus in a dog's ass. I'm not even kidding. That's a thing. Like, you can Google it and you can see it yourself. Like, there is that. No, seriously. Like, Google Jesus in a dog's ass. It's a picture. But it's basically, like looking at a Rorschach test, and you just see whatever you want to see. But it's so difficult to see capitalism in Fallout when, again, like, you have all these other political systems, and all these other political systems are shit as well. So, the original Fallout creator, Tim Kaine, comes out and says that a critique of capitalism was never the point of the game, and if anything, that about how war is inevitable given basic human nature. It's literally my analysis. How is it possible that I, who am not an official critic, who am not working at Kotaku, who I'm not that big brain, how is it possible that I actually understand the vision of the original artist much better than all these educated media literacy twats that are claiming, like, no, that they're capable of understanding works of art far better than the average mankind because they're so educated. And yet I, who never talked with the co-creator, am able to grasp exactly what he was trying to accomplish, and take into account that these people could have actually fought the co-creator. Like, if you're working at Kotaku as a journalist, you actually have the opportunity to pick up the phone and contact the co-creator of a video game and ask him a couple of questions. Like, okay, well, we're interested in figuring out, like, what was the message? What were you trying to accomplish? And usually the co-creator is happy to respond. But this is the problem, like this is what all these critics are doing. They're not actually interested in getting to the truth. They're interested in pushing their ideas onto you. And many of these people that are now taking the IP of Fallout, they don't care what the original creator was trying to say. So they're just going to push their nonsense. But I remember, like, an interesting thing in Fallout 3, which a lot of leftists don't want to bring up. It's the Tenpenny Tower. So Tenpenny is like this incredibly comically evil person, and he lives atop of a tower which is filled with wealth. It's like an old hotel that is self-sustaining in the wasteland, so it's got access to clean water, it's got access to energy. It's pretty much the same as things were before the bombs fell. And there's this sailboat in front of Tenpenny Tower that people are trying to just scrape by. But the owner of the tower really hates these guys because they're a sore sight. Whenever he goes out and he looks at the window, he sees, like, this awful town that's like a blight on an otherwise picturesque visage. So he wants to destroy this town. He wants to nuke this town for the sole reason that it looks ugly. So he actually gives you a quest to destroy it. It's up to the player if he wants to do it or not. But when you go to Tenpenny Tower, you realize that there's a ghoul that wants to get in, and they're not allowing ghouls to get in because they're ghouls. So basically they're saying, like, no, you're not allowed to come in here because ghouls are evil. And the ghoul is saying, no, we're not evil, we just look radiated, it's just how we look, right? So you as the player now has the option of either allowing the ghouls to get in, or preventing them from doing so, right? Now, when you go into the tower, there's a lot of rich folk. Many of them don't like the ghouls, but there are a couple of women that are like, no, actually, ghouls are humans as well. They should be allowed to live with us, right? So if you allow the ghouls to live there, in the beginning, things are okay, but after a while, the ghouls kill all the rich people. They kill all the humans. And that's not a very left-wing message, right? Because it's obvious what the quest giver was trying to say. He was saying that you have like refugees, right, with genuine concerns. I mean, they're from the wasteland and they want to get in the tower, but there is such a clash of cultures. You have like the people living in the tower that have a way of life, that have a particular view which is completely different than that of the ghouls, who live in the wasteland, who live in brutality, who are okay with violence and murder. And when you force these two groups to cohabitate, eventually the ghouls just wiped out everyone, even the people that were in favor of letting the ghouls in, right? So like, this is a quest that's not very politically correct. It's not very left-leaning. I don't think that a quest like this would ever exist in a video game made today. But for some reason, like, no, they're not mentioning this quest. And it's in Fallout 3. It's actually a very popular quest. It's so popular that most people probably know what I'm talking about. So as the creator says, what's Fallout about? Nukes, consumerism, imperialism. And apparently it's about all of them, but none of them, right? Because it tries to show that even if you have like capitalism, imperialism, consumerism, communism, like you have in China, eventually war never changes. So basically it's human nature. Like regardless of what system humans create, because it's created by humans, it will inevitably lead to conflict and war. So the response of the creator is that critique of capitalism was never the point of Fallout. How can you tell? Because the game went out of its way to mention that other countries like China were also behaving terribly. Which is very true, of course. In the original isometric Fallout that Kane worked as a lead on, the United States was a horrifying dystopia, a chauvinist capitalist hellscape that imposed its will on the world and shot everyone who disagreed. But Fallout China, which was never dropped to smash the old world and forge the new world ideology of the Mao Zedong era, was also plenty violent. In fact, the original vision was that China was the one that dropped the bomb first. If anything, Fallout is a comment that war is inevitable given basic human nature, and that the mode of production doesn't necessarily have all that much to do with it. And I don't think I have any themes that run in common in all my games, maybe mistrust of power. Right, so there you have it. Again, how was I capable? How was I capable of understanding what the author meant without being educated, without going to Harvard, without working at one of these rich corporations that have an army of staff which could call the author at a moment's notice and just ask him these questions? Let me know what you guys think, though. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.